The lights go out? Not just in your neighborhood, everywhere. The hum of civilization, that constant electrical whisper you've heard your entire life without noticing, dies. Within 3 days, the water stops running. Within a week, the grocery stores are empty concrete tombs. Within 2 weeks, your neighbors are breaking into each other's homes. And you? You're standing in your kitchen, staring at your dead smartphone, realizing with genuine horror that you don't know how to do anything. You can't start a fire. You can't purify water. You can't navigate without GPS. You can't grow food. You've been outsourcing your survival to technology for so long that your brain has become a museum of useless information, celebrity gossip, streaming passwords, and the lyrics to songs you don't even like. Modern technology didn't just make life easier. It erased the fundamental knowledge that kept humans alive for 200,000 years. And now, when the grid collapses and society tears itself apart like wet paper, you're about to learn a brutal lesson. Comfort kills capability. Here's the physics of your situation, and it's not pretty. The human body requires approximately 2 liters of water per day to maintain basic function. After 3 days without it, your kidneys start failing, your blood thickens, your brain swells. You die, confused and hallucinating, convinced you're somewhere safe when you're actually lying in your own filth. Food is a slower killer. You've got maybe 3 weeks before starvation does permanent damage, but you'll be weak, irrational, and vulnerable within 5 days. The math is simple and merciless. You need water within 72 hours and food within 2 weeks, or you become a statistic. But here's what nobody tells you. The real killer isn't thirst or hunger. It's ignorance wrapped in panic. It's making the wrong move at the wrong time because you've never had to think about survival as anything more than an entertaining concept. Let's start with water because this is where most people die first, and they die stupid. You're standing in an urban environment, let's say a mid-sized city 3 days after collapse. The taps are dry. Bottled water is long gone, stolen by people who move faster than you did. Your instinct tells you to find a stream or river, which is exactly what everyone else is thinking, which means those water sources are about to become disease factories. Here's what you do instead. You go vertical. High-rise buildings, office towers, apartment complexes, they all have water heater tanks. 40 to 80 gallons of potable water sitting in a metal cylinder that most people forget exists. You're looking for basement mechanical rooms or utility closets. The water heater has a drain valve at the bottom. Turn it, collect the water, and you've just bought yourself weeks. But you need to move fast, ideally within the first 48 hours, before this becomes common knowledge among the desperate masses. Now purification, because that water heater might be full of sediment or bacteria. Boiling is the gold standard. 1 minute at a rolling boil kills everything that wants to kill you. But you don't have electricity or gas, so you're building a fire, which brings us to friction fire, the skill that separates the living from the dead when you don't have matches or lighters. You need a hand drill setup. A straight, dry stick rotating rapidly against a flat piece of wood creates enough friction to reach the combustion temperature of wood dust, which is about 450 degrees Fahrenheit. You're not spinning it randomly. You need consistent downward pressure while rotating, using a bow if you can rig one to generate the heat concentration needed. The wood dust forms a coal. You transfer that coal to a tinder bundle of dry grass, shredded bark, or even paper, and blow gently but persistently. The chemistry is simple. You're introducing oxygen to accelerate oxidation at the point of ignition. Most people fail because they blow too hard or give up too soon. The process takes 15 to 30 minutes of sustained effort and will destroy your hands if you resoft. This is why practice matters before collapse, but since you didn't practice, expect blood and frustration. Food is the next nightmare, and this is where your modern squeamishness will try to kill you. The supermarkets are empty. The restaurants are looted. Delivery apps are dark jokes. You need calories, and you need them from sources nobody else is considering. Urban foraging is about finding wild berries in a city market. It's about understanding that cities are accidental ecosystems full of edible organisms. Pigeons are flying protein, slow and stupid enough to catch with improvised traps. Rats are everywhere, disease vectors, but also dense calories if cooked thoroughly internal temperature of 165 degrees. Fahrenheit kills the pathogens. Dandelions, plantain. Personally, these weeds growing in sidewalk cracks are more nutritious than half the vegetables you ignored in stores. The psychological barrier is massive. You've been conditioned to see these as disgusting, but that conditioning is a luxury that just expired. The survivors eat what's available. The dead maintain their standards. Then there's the psychological component, the part that determines whether you make it past week 2. Collapse doesn't announce itself with clear rules. It's chaos wrapped in violence, wrapped in desperation, and your brain isn't designed for this. You've spent your entire life in a world of laws, consequences, and social contracts. That world is gone. The people around you are transforming from neighbors into threats. And your ability to recognize this shift, to accept it without breaking down, is survival critical. You need to adopt what's called tactical coldness, not cruelty, but detachment. When someone approaches you asking for food or water, your first thought can't be compassion. It needs to be threat assessment. Are they armed? Are they alone? Is this a distraction while others move on your supplies? These aren't paranoid questions. These are the questions that keep you breathing. The harsh truth is that most people will die in the first month because they can't make this mental transition. They'll share their last water. They'll trust the wrong person. They'll hesitate when decisiveness is required. Timing is everything in collapse scenarios, and this is where your ignorance becomes lethal. There's a predictable pattern to societal breakdown. Days 1 through 3, shock and denial, people still expecting help. Days 4 through 7, panic and aggression, the first wave of violence as reality sets in. Days 8 through 14, consolidation, groups forming, territories establishing. If you're moving through the city looking for supplies, you want to move during days 2 through 4 after the initial confusion but before organized violence. You're navigating at dawn or dusk, never midday when visibility makes you a target, never full dark when you can't see threats. You're moving through alleys and side streets, avoiding main roads where crowds funnel and conflict concentrates. You're staying near buildings for quick escape routes, always keeping 3 exits in your mental map. This isn't paranoia. This is applied game theory, assuming others are acting in desperate self-interest, and positioning yourself to avoid worst-case encounters. Shelter is the piece most people underestimate because they still thinking of home as that place with a mortgage. Your home is now a target. It's a known location, possibly tied to your identity, and it will be searched by people with worse intentions than yours. You need to think like prey learning to hide from predators. In urban environments, the best shelters are the forgotten spaces, maintenance tunnels under buildings, abandoned subway service areas, the upper floors of partially collapsed structures that require climbing to access. These locations provide concealment and defensive advantage. Nobody searches what's difficult to reach. You're looking for 3 things: protection from elements, concealment from humans, and multiple escape routes. A rooftop access room in a high-rise checks all 3 boxes. It's above the search pattern, offers visibility, and provides roof access for emergency exit. You're not furnishing this space. You're surviving in it. Insulation made from salvaged materials, a way to collect rainwater, a hidden cache of supplies. Comfort is dead. Function is everything. Fire starting appears again because it's that critical, but now we're talking about concealment. Smoke is a signal that draws every desperate person within visual range. You need to understand low smoke fires, which means dry hardwoods burned in a Dakota Firehole design that channels air from a separate intake tunnel, creating a more complete combustion that produces minimal smoke. You dig 2 connected pits at an angle, one for fire, one for air intake. The physics involves Bernoulli's principle. The air moving through the intake tunnel speeds up and feeds oxygen directly to the base of the fire, increasing efficiency and reducing smoke. During daylight, any smoke is dangerous. At night, the heat signature is what betrays you. You burn only what you must, when you must, and you're prepared to extinguish it instantly if you hear movement outside your position. Then there's the medical reality that will break most people. Without hospitals, infections kill. A simple cut on your hand becomes life-threatening when bacteria meets compromised hygiene meets no antibiotics. You need to understand basic wound management as applied chemistry and biology. Clean the wound immediately with the cleanest water available. Honey, actual honey, which you might find in abandoned homes, is antibacterial due to its low water content and hydrogen peroxide production. It's not a myth, it's biochemistry. Cover wounds to prevent contamination, but allow some air circulation to avoid anaerobic bacteria growth. Watch for red streaks moving up from the wound, which indicates spreading infection and imminent sepsis. At that point, without medical intervention, you're looking at a 72-hour window before system failure. This is why the smallest injuries demand immediate, aggressive treatment. There's no margin for error, no doctor waiting at the end of a phone call. Navigation without technology forces you to relearn what ancient humans knew instinctively. The sun rises east, sets west, basic but forgotten by people who followed blue dots on screens their entire lives. At night, in the northern hemisphere, find Polaris by locating the Big Dipper and following the 2 stars at the edge of its cup. That's north. The rest is logic and orientation. But here's the technique nobody discusses: you remarking your routes with personal symbols only you recognize. Scratches on walls, rock arrangements, patterns that mean water source or dangerous, or supplies hidden in a code you've created. You're building a mental map of safe paths, dead ends, and resource locations because your phone's Maps app is a useless black rectangle and memory under stress is unreliable. The final and most brutal reality: most preparation advice is worthless. The bug-out bag philosophy assumes you'll have time and clarity to grab your carefully packed supplies. You won't. Collapse is chaotic, sudden, and your best gear will be stolen or abandoned in your first panicked movement. What saves you is knowledge that lives in your head and skills practiced until they're unconscious. The person who survives knows how to make fire in the rain with wet materials. They know which plants are food and which are poison. They can navigate by stars and shadows. They understand group dynamics and when to hide versus when to move. They've already made the hard mental transition from citizen to survivor, from hoping for rescue to accepting that rescue isn't coming. This isn't entertainment. This is the gap between the person you are and the person you need to become before the lights go out forever. Every skill you don't learn is a way you can die. Every piece of knowledge you outsource to technology is a vulnerability waiting to kill you. The grid will fail. Maybe not today, maybe not this year, but the complexity that keeps modern life functioning is fragile in ways we pretend not to understand. When it breaks, and it will break, the only thing standing between you and a shallow grave is what you know and what you can do in the dark, alone with nothing but your hands and your mind. Start learning now, or start making peace with becoming a statistic. There is no middle ground, no partial credit for good intentions. You either know how to survive, or you become food for those who do.